dip my
What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in on today's video. I'm your host Gabe, and today we're going to be looking at this 1989 3.2 Targa 911 Carrera. Now, this car in particular has played a very important role in the success of the 911 Carrera and the way that the history has been written today. In the late 1970s and in the early 80s, the 911 Carrera was kind of dying down. There wasn't too much activity. Most of the executives and decision makers at Porsche were starting to feel that the 911 was starting to fade away, and they were starting to look at other alternatives, like reallocating some of the R&D budget into other transaxle models like the 924 or the 944. But with the support and the vision of Peter Schultz, the CEO at the time, and a very dedicated workforce, we have this. Many car enthusiasts and historians believe and argue that this is the generation that really saved the 911 lineage. This generation, and more particularly these years of Porsche Carreras, are actually one of the most sought out, and they've held up their value pretty well. So now let's talk a little bit about this specific car. This is of course the Targa, which is one of the three options that are available for the 3.2 Carreras. And of course those options are the coupe, the cabriolet, and the Targa. I've always found that the Targa has kind of like the middle ground between the refreshing, topless, easygoing convertible style, and of course the more business, professional, sporty rigidness of the coupe. For me, the Targa was an excellent choice, and the owner is extremely happy with his decision. Now, one cannot ignore just how absolutely gorgeous this car looks. For me, the 1989, well, basically this generation of the Carreras is quite possibly one of my favorites because it kind of has the perfect blend of like the modern contemporary cars that we see today, and also the retro classic, you know, a reminder of the past. I mean, this car has that beautiful blend. It just looks so refreshing to look at. It always catches a lot of attention. Porsche has always had a very simplistic design. The front of this car is, of course, has that iconic columns with the headlights, and of course they look absolutely stunning. I love how the reflectors are super evident. The newer models kind of don't have that much of that presence of the reflectors, but these are just very brazen in your face, and I really like that. It kind of has like that, again, that retro feel. And as you move to the profile of the car, you do get to see that Porsche really never did change or strive away from its origins. I mean, it always has held the same type of style for their Carreras. And one cannot forget and ignore the rims on these cars, the stock rims at least. I think they're just one of the coolest rims that are out there, and I love how they color contrast perfectly with the black exterior paint color. That type of style of rims is very old, retro, and I think it just looks so nice, and it's aged extremely well in today's times. And now as we move to the rear of the car, that's actually my favorite part about this car. We start to see that the newer, you know, 2021 models of Carreras are starting to do that, like that connection, or like that one piece tail light design, which is basically what this car has. It's a combination of the tail lights and the reflectors, and I think it just looks so nice, and it's good to see that Porsche is now starting to return to that. So powering this 3.2 Carrera Targa is a 3.2 liter flat 6-cylinder engine that pushes around 218 crank horsepower and about 185 foot-pound-feet of torque. Let's get some exhaust notes of that 3.2 liter flat 6-cylinder engine. Alright guys, so now let's take a look at the interior of the 3.2 Carrera Targa. And you know, what can I say? There's really not much emphasis on modern, you know, crazy technologies. There's no screens. There's really just like this Bluetooth Pioneer to manage like the basic infotainment options and features. But you know, the interior of this car is extremely simplistic. I mean, you have your basic climate control settings for both the passenger and the driver. Right below the climate control settings, which is basically where the center console would be, you have the gear shifter here, which is really interesting, and actually it's a pretty common thing for classic cars to have like that really elongated shifter that, you know, you have to basically play the claw game with, and it's just really nice. There's some imperfections here, but it still looks really good. I'm really curious to see how this entire process with shifting gears, especially with one this long, feels for me, because I've actually never done that. This would be my first time, so I'm pretty excited about that. So let's talk a little bit about the seats on this car. You know, they're not really complicated in design. I do like how they are kind of sport oriented. They look like the new modern sports seats, and they're actually pretty comfortable, and they're pretty new as well. They still feel like they're brand new. I don't anticipate that we're going to be tracking the car, but I do feel that, you know, with the turns and some curves, I feel like these holsters will do a very nice job. And the design is extremely simple, and that's what I like about it. You know, it's, again, not overly complicated. The design of the steering wheel is extremely simplistic. It just has in writing and engraved in the leather here, Porsche, and I think it's really, really nice. It's easy, to the point. There's no complications. It really, this is what this car interior feels like. It's not overly complicated. It's extremely easy, user-friendly. Of course, the gauge clusters themselves are kind of really, really like 80s. You know, they have like the big circular design. Nothing here is digitalized, which is really, really cool. Kind of gives you that authentic OG classic feel. So when it comes to space in this car, you don't have a trunk because the engine is located right behind you guys, so you do have a frunk in this car. The space up front is pretty good. I mean, you could probably fit a couple bags, maybe a small suitcase. Most of the space, I believe, is going to be right behind the seats here, and it's just enough for you to put some groceries, some other appliances. But you know, storage is really not the focus of this car. It's really just a driver experience, and I think just looking really cool. And having a lot of stuff in your car doesn't look really cool. All right, guys, before we start driving the 3.2 Carrera Targa, I want to make an introduction to the owner of this car, Denny.
Hi.
So Denny is the owner of this beautiful, beautiful 911, and thank you again, Denny, for this opportunity.
Sure.
Really appreciate it. He's gonna help me take the Targa top off and kind of show you guys the process before we start moving, because it is a gorgeous day today, and actually we wanted to take advantage of it. Let's go ahead and get started. So once you've taken off the hinges that hold it here in place, you take the top off, you folded it, it goes nicely stored in the front here. All right, so we are now inside and we are ready to drive. This is a 5-speed G50 transmission. Ooh, immediately the clutch gives me a lot of resistance.
It's a heavy clutch.
And voila! This is the first time I've ever driven a car with such a heavy clutch and heavy gear shifter. I mean, it's crazy. Wow, for a first timer, this is a car that you do not want to learn how to drive manual. I think is gonna be the 911 Targa. Yeah, so the buy point's definitely on the upper side.
Okay.
Like really, really high up.
Okay.
Yeah, it is extremely heavy. Then that's crazy. And the fact that, yeah, there's no power steering. Again, this is gonna give you a workout, man.
Mm-hmm. It does. It keeps your arms and legs in shape, or at least one leg.
Yeah, but once you start to get a hand of it and you get the car rolling, like any manual car, I think, it becomes kind of like cake now. And the suspension is pretty forgiving right now. It's not really aggressive and rough, and there are some imperfections on the road now. But right now, as we're just driving very conservatively, not going too fast, it's pretty enjoyable right now. I've caught a couple of glimpses from people, and I was saying earlier that this is a car that it's very sought out. It's very loved by the public, even if you're not a car person.
Yes.
It's always appreciated very, very much. Well, tell me first when you got the car and how it's been roughly since you've purchased it.
I got it in about 2002 in Philadelphia, when I was working in the Philadelphia area, and it's been a great car. They consider these cars, the 86 to about 89, to be bulletproof. So it does not need a lot of work, but when it does, you have to go to the trust fund. But it's been a great car. And in Virginia, when I would take it out in the Alexandria, Virginia area, there was rarely a day that I would not get pulled over for somebody wanting to buy it.
I can imagine.
People just stopped, waved. They wanted to buy it. Yeah, flagged me to buy it. If I were to sell this now, it would be 45 to 50.
That's crazy. What should somebody look out for if they wanted to buy it, this car?
In terms of a caution about buying it?
Caution, just heads up, like...
Okay. The air conditioning, when it functions well, is average compared to other cars. And in Miami, you just have to have the air working.
Oh yeah, in Florida, I think anywhere below Orlando, it's like, it's a must-have.
Yeah.
If not, it unusable for at least, I'd say about 10 months out of the year.
Other than that, it has just been a
bulletproof car.
A bulletproof car. It's a daily driver. I mean, I don't drive it every day because I don't want to put the miles on it, but I take it out regularly on the weekends. I made the mistake early on of not driving it a lot, and a $4,000 brake job
taught you otherwise.
Later, yes, taught me otherwise. And the mechanics said you have to drive it. You have to drive it to keep all the fluids moving in it, the parts moving.
It could be a lot worse. I mean, it could be the other way around where you use it a lot and it still goes bad. So.
Yes, yeah.
The new Porsches make this car, well, the driving experience of a Porsche extremely easy and extremely accessible.
Yes.
Where this car, you really got to give it some work.
Yes.
And you know, I'm not too sure about, you know, the whole track situation with this car, but I can imagine that this car is truly like you got to be on your A game. Whereas if you had a GT3 like the one that I reviewed, of course it's always important to be on your A game, but there's so many electronic assistants and all that, but this car probably just doesn't have any of that.
It doesn't.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's nothing like it.
It sounds great, man. They've done a really good job with, I think, really two things. One, keeping the look, the origin, never change it up. You know, they refined it here and there, but maintaining and refining the drivability and the handling. I mean, seriously, this car is 30 plus years old, and it feels like a brand new car when you're taking the turns. I mean, you know, we haven't really taken any serious turns. I mean, in Florida, that's one of the sad things about it, is that there's really not that many places where you have those nice canyons and stuff like that, like Virginia.
Yep.
The little opportunities that you get to take turns, it feels planted either way. So that's something that I'm truly impressed with a car of this age. A little rusty on the shifts, but
You're getting it.
yeah, but I love how that, like the flat six, man. The flat six from Porsches are super unique, man. The sound.
There's nothing like it.
How's the gas mileage?
I don't know.
You've never?
No.
I just drive. I don't look back.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, guys. So now we've made it back to where we originally started. Denny, I can't stress enough how grateful I am to have had this opportunity, man. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For letting me get behind the wheel of your special baby. This was an awesome experience to get behind a wheel of a vintage, very sought out and very popular Porsche. Not only one that is just very good looking and always sought out by everybody, but one that is arguably the one that saved the 911 lineage and that brought the Carrera back into the spotlight. Guys, if you found this video informative and somewhat entertaining, go ahead and hit the like button below. Helps out with the algorithm. You guys don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 5,000 subscribers. That's the goal for 2021. And guys, don't forget to comment in the section below. What did you guys think of this review? What did you think of the 3.2 Targa Carrera? Thank you very much, guys, and I will catch you next time.